Varus on red side. Big KT. Maybe they ban away the Elise in that spot.
Maybe. Or maybe you pick up something different in the jungle, because I think the one champion that we know can contest the Elise fairly early, it's not always guaranteed, it's not an easy matchup, but it is playable, is the Lee Sin, right? Which we haven't seen at all this series. As we're just going to see the same MO. Like, oh, you would like to challenge the Elise early on?
There it is.
So 2 bans for 1 here in some ways, because I think that the main reason why we are seeing these bans for T1 is because they wanted to have that Elise control. This time they will not. See what the final ban will be here. As last time it was the Zeri, will be once again.
Caitlyn seems to be pretty obvious. I don't think you want to leave this open, unless you want to leave everything open and try to like get yourself one of these like crazy 80 bot lanes. So instead of Caitlyn ban, they're actually going to ban Ashe here.
And if it's a Varus first pick, KT may just try to play Karma and handle it. We've seen that a lot from them this season. It's kind of been one of the comfort picks for KT, especially in round 1, where we saw so much aiming Ezreal with Lehenz's Karma. So it does feel like you're walking straight into that if T1 do prioritize the Varus here. But it still seems very strong.
I hope Zeus is okay after that game too. He doesn't look very happy. I think he's just deep in thought, but... And especially with a pick like this, they're just going to go for the Lee Sin and say, okay, well, we don't need Elise, we'll just pick this instead. A very nice kind of blind V1 pick we have seen a lot in the end of the regular season.
Well, Varus is going over now.
There are a lot of strong picks still up, Wolf.
Yeah, and you banned the Zeri here, so in terms of scaling, that's one of the best options. Now, we may just see a Rakan lane here for T1, and that's what it looks like they're going to pick up. Alternatively, we could have seen the Thresh angle here, but it feels like a lot riskier here than the Rakan Xayah, because the Rakan Xayah has some ability to escape Wukong engages, you can escape the Varus, and if the Rakan actually hits some knockups in the early game, you can get some aggressive control over the lane. Now, Heimerdinger actually makes sense in this draft, but I'd still rather see Karma because I think Lehenz is better on the pick, and I just don't expect that KT is ever going to have leads to set up.
Or...
Okay.
Just don't pick bottom lane, because Lehenz can probably play whatever. Like, are you really going to expend 2 bans and then, like, he's just going to pick Blitzcrank, or, like, he can just play Leona into Rakan, right? Instead of that, just get BDD his comfort pick.
Yeah, that's going to be what they go with here this time around, as we'll see the LeBlanc taken away. Faker's had a lot of fun playing these laning phases out thus far. Even in the game where he was playing Castle into the Twisted Fate, he did play the laning phase very comfortably. We won't get a chance to play LeBlanc this time around. We'll see if they target the Karma and or Heimer here, or if they have other plans. Focusing on Keen instead does seem to be a good idea, because like you said, Lehenz's has such a wide champion pool.
I think you definitely want to take away the Leona at least.
Leona or the Nautilus is still another thing to consider here too.
Leona's just always been one of those, you know, great into Rakan, even Xayah Rakan lanes. Obviously, going hard engaged into Xayah is not always the best idea, but you already have a decent amount of range to deal with that. Curious to see what T1 will ban.
It seems like the safest choice, unless you're worried about something like a, you know, once again, Jack's pick here, but it's going to be face up this time if they lock it in now. As if you ban the Leona, I mean, there's so many other things you can play. You can play the Karma, can play the Heimerdinger. Renata is the most common into the Xayah Rakan, and that is what they're going to take away from Lehenz here. And Maokai being hovered, interestingly.
Thresh.
Varus Thresh, an interesting lane. I mean, I think Heimer, you have enough control this time. They will go with the Leona.
I just wanted to see the Leona. I was like,
well, I mean,
what are all these picks?
I think a lot of
Leona again.
I think a lot of the other picks work out in different, more niche situations here, and Leona's the safest for the lane, but it's going to be very difficult to pull off into a Lee Sin, into a Xayah later on in 5v5 team fights. Well, let's see what the solo lanes are going to be here for T1. Cassante likely top. We'll find out in just a moment here what Faker is going to play, as
might just be mid again.
I was going to say, you know, Talia is still available, but looking for a cast and scaling option here, and Xayah is so strong in the late game. in this meta. You have the Kassadin to match some of that scaling from Veigar. It's also a great matchup into the Veigar because you can just rift walk your way out of cages. You also are going to be playing into a lane where...
And you just scale.
Yeah, the Veigar is not really going to put kill pressure on. You don't have a lot of power there. It's Wukong Veigar's Jax once again into the Kassadin. You know, Huni mentioned it on the space. You know, it can be quite nice into Kassadin because what he wants to do naturally is rift walk forward into the enemy team, so it often puts you in Counter-Strike range. And if you've already used your Zhonya's in the team fight, the Jax will kill the Kassadin. It could be very sticky on top of Xayah and Rakan as well. And I also think that Veigar, just in general, is pretty good into Rakan Kassadin. You know, even though Kassadin has the ability to rift walk through cages, it becomes a lot more difficult to play even at level 16 with that cooldown reduction, where you're like, okay, gotta wait a second, gotta be really careful how to position. You mess up one time, or you actually rift walk into a cage, where the cage is placed at a nice timing to defend your backline. That can be a huge problem, and Rakan has way less agency when he has to play around the event horizon. So I like the comp that both teams put together here. There you go, finally coming through. She's been waiting.
They're like, please play Xayah, Guma, please play Rakan, Keria. And guess what? They will. Together. As is usually the case. It says, don't get scared, ET. And they didn't. And at this point, I don't think they have any reason to. They were able to defeat T1 in that game number 2, and I will still hold the stance that I think it might be a big turning point in this. And even that says, you will regret choosing KT.
Yeah.
Gets a cheer from the crowd.
They may, as it is going to be a huge momentum swing in this series if KT win this third game. Because T1, they dropped the ball in that one-team fight. And the game was lost by that, but they were in control most of the game. You lose this one, suddenly feels like KT are in control of the series.
All right, let's see how it goes, guys. We got game number 3 loaded up. The series is on our hands, and let's jump into the Rift. This is going to be a very interesting game. I think Guma's carry performance on Lucian in game 1 was fantastic for, you know, the obvious reasons of really pressing forward the advantage and that snowball that T1 always does. But I think he's got a great opportunity to carry on the Xayah once again into all of the nice engage on the side of KT.
And you've got Cleanse and the ultimate now to defend against those engages. And when KT overextend, maybe you call the blades, and you get big root, you win the team fight for your team, Faker goes in and finishes off those targets. And one of the other cool things about Veigar into the Kassadin, so we're going to see this level 1 fight. Zeus is here though, BDD. Get some stacks. One of the cool things about it, though, is that, yeah, you can, with a lot of mid laners, as the Kassadin later on, you can kind of rift walk your way out of a lot of the skill shots, you can avoid a lot. But if you get low, BD presses R and clicks on you, you die. You try to rift walk your way out of that one, you will not escape, you will not live. And BD is getting a lot of first strike value here, too, early on in this game.
First strike value, he's getting stacks, he's just enjoying his life right now. As much as this is a fun lane for the Kassadin, and it's kind of a free lane because you do just get to naturally scale, like Veigar might have some opportunities if you go a little bit too forward. Veigar also just gets to sit there and scale himself, so he's also happy.
BDD 5-1 on this pick.
First loss was game 1.
Yep, I was about to say that, and the control he has shown with this pick so consistently has just been incredible. And now Talia was banned against him earlier in this series. He's not going to pick it up this time. Picks up the Veigar early. And he's just been such a point of consistency for this roster, and he's been so clutch, you know, and so many of these fights for KT towards the end of the season have been won by a big shuffle into an Emperor's Divide. Great cage. Guma has to flash this blade early. Yeah, and that's a huge boon.
Yeah, the Xayah early, you know, we talked about this Leona pick into it, is going to really enjoy this lane just because of how she interacts with the Rakan. As Cuz is here.
Just going to zone Faker out of a wave. There's more, half a wave, it looks like. Trying for anyways.
Cannon.
Yeah.
Hashtag worth, maybe?
Faker will get most of those. He had red buff, so if Faker tried to go up and try anything, would have been putting himself in danger. BDD also in danger, but Cuz here.
Oner, let's see how this goes. He hops into the cage. BDD is quite low, but flashes over and is looking for the kill. The last auto will get it. First blood is to the Lee Sin, but BDD picks up a kill, and now Cuz has the play here onto Oner. One more hit would do it, but they call Keria roaming up, and Keria is here to turn the fight as Cuz hands in the air. Nothing he could do. 2v1 as the prio from bot wins T1 the fight.
So 3 flashes expended for exchange of 2 here, but obviously T1 will end up getting the better gold. Now, the kill goes over to BDD and not to in the Faker exchange. He gets an assist. It goes to Oner. So both kills going to the jungle in the case of T1. Now, it is Oner on Lee Sin, and he does a lot with a little. He already has his Iron Spike whip online. Just hold up.
No flash. A little bit of a rough spot here for Keria. He's got an ignite on him. Another stun comes in. It's a free kill gifted on a golden platter to Aiming.
He's got a little smirk on his face on the player cam there as well. Just, you know, playing a little bit too greedy here. Gets punished with no flash. Now Cuz is coming over. They're going to set up a dive. This is what Lehens will do with this pick. And you mentioned it's great at the Rakan. When the Rakan has no flash, it gets even stronger here. Lehens has Hex Flash. It was like maybe they were going to commit to the dive here on this level 3 Guma who has no flash. This has been a pretty solid matchup for the Jacks this season. A lot of those games are Keens, in fact.
I was wondering, like, what is the stat on that?
As BDD here flashes aggressively, and if Faker gets out here, look at how close this is. BDD gets in, one more auto takes him out. If that actually doesn't happen, if he dies before that auto goes off, this is horrible for KT, but at least they're able to get that kill and multiple flashes. Keria buffers the knock-up here with his flash, and will take Cuz out. Then subsequently dies down here. No vision of where Lehens is. Lehens knows it.
Got to dive in topside. Looks like he will be okay, but Keen does have to flash away.
Yeah.
But, hey, you can see T1 trying to be proactive, at least on the top side, which is not something you see all the time. But Oner very strong right now.
Yeah, Cuz doesn't have ult. He's level 4.
Spots him after the Warrior Trickster, so yeah, he's just gonna have to go away. And Oner is saying, okay, well, there have been some slip-ups, but I'm gonna solidify. I'm going to make us okay in this early game.
Keen has teleport, so you're not gonna lose too much here. In fact, don't even necessarily need to use it. Down here on the bottom side, Aiming, hitting some of that poke here, does have his Dirk ready. And there were times in that last game where I was like, ooh, which would have been better, lethality or on hit? And it felt like mostly lethality, but there were some moments where you're like, okay, well, if he can't actually do anything damage-wise here, if he has no mana or if he's not able to hit Qs, this lethality Varus isn't going to do anything. But when T1 overextended and when the engages were there, I mean, man, did he line those arrows up on this Varus. And once again, he's going to play it.
Chains of Corruption also fantastic.
Yeah.
Just, you know, not even just for pick potential, but also for if they engage into you, because it can chain. That's the part of it, you know, the Chains of Corruption that can really just kind of put a stop to an engage. As Faker is in the cage.
And BDD is just having so much fun in this lane.
Yeah, I mean, if you blink into Veigar at level 6, you're going in the cage. You're going to be punished, okay?
And if you already use that ultimate, then the mana cost is so high to continue to use it that, like, you're going to be pushed out of lane if you continue to do so. Faker does, you know, end up having a similar amount of mana here to BDD, but BDD looking for a plate.
Okay, Q comes in because is here. He catches him on the end of the cage, goes back in onto BDD, who's got an ult and a dream. Can they get the kill? No.
But this should still be a lot of extra mid-prio here. Going over to KT Rolster, Lehens is up here as well. And they might be able to turn this into a mountain break here early.
Lehens coming in, trying to stop some backs. I feel like they could have stayed, maybe taken a plate, but just want to get the good back off.
Yeah. Deciding not to rush over to the Drake or collapse onto the enemy Xayah, who's bottom, and we'll have level 6 very soon. Aiming just hit his.
Nice play here from Zeus. He's going to all out him underneath. Keen in a little bit of trouble, but looking to maybe trade it back. Just no hops away, and in goes Zeus, takes the 1v1. And this time, he'll get the better of it.
Yeah, has the Ghost available. Keen no flash. Goes over here to try to defend this turret.
Uh-oh. What's going on here? Oner's here as well. The Warrior Trickster might save him, but they are on the chase. As Cuz does have flash, there it is. Trying to get in behind the minions, but it doesn't matter. Oner just flashes on him and kills him.
That was beautifully played from Oner. Third kill for the Lee Sin, and plate gold going over the Zeus. And Keen just overextending there, and Cuz with no level 6 comes over for the contest.
Maybe now an engage onto them. Chains of Corruption go in. Guma has to back away.
Still has ult and cleanse. And Aiming has no mana. Probably don't play this too greedy. Back looking at this again.
BDD at 67 stacks, 8.5 in.
Keen really overplays his hand here. Counter-Strike goes off, Zeus charges through, gets the Q, pulls him back, and then he knows, okay, I should have enough damage here. He has the Ghost, of course, to follow. One more dash Q, taking him out. Cuz comes over here, and because Oner hits level 6 off the kill, you could imagine that he probably is a few minions shy of 6, so maybe he thought if he comes up here in the tower and he gets like maybe 3 minions and he hits level 6, maybe he can survive, but the timing is off. Oner is able to come over and take him out with a really nice flash Q. Hits level 6 himself, and now they're going to take the Drake.
Lee Sin is going to be such a massive threat. So much of the gold that T1 is ahead in this game is onto Lee Sin. Whereas, you know, you've got a kill on BDD, you've got a kill on Aiming, so some of the gold for KT in a quote-unquote better spot.
Yeah. Speaking of, this is going to showcase exactly what you're talking about.
Obviously, these leads in the top side of the map are pretty massive for the top and jungle of T1. As once again, more skirmishing. Keen looks pretty happy to take this fight, but gonna dodge the Counter-Strike, and Zeus is on the chase here, not gonna get the knock-up, and now Faker's here. Uh-oh. Keen does have flash. Yep, there it is, but the slow comes in. Another couple Qs, and yeah, they're just going to let him go.
BDD is going to trade this for a plate. So not all lost here on the side of KT Rolster. Still going to get some value here, but, you know, you are Keen. You are an incredible Jax player. You have won this matchup before, but you're behind, and you have to respect the fact that this is a team that is going to play around topside. They will play around these vulnerabilities and kind of bait you in. As now with no teleport here, he's going to lose more gold topside. So yeah, your Veigar got a plate, but you're losing multiple here, potentially topside. Had to flash. T1 in a very dominant position here in this game. And unlike the last, you know, there's not a great setup for KT to look for insane picks. Like, their comp is somewhat mixed in what it's trying to do this time around, and without a Jax that is fed, team fighting becomes way more difficult, especially when you consider the Xayah was just kind of chilling. You know, no huge disadvantage here. Will be a plate going over to Aiming, but it's split gold.
Just farming it out, getting poked occasionally, but he has 3 biscuits and a potion.
Yeah.
I guess eventually those come in handy. But yeah, he's just hanging out, scaling. Faker, you know, he's 6 CS, not really that big of a deal behind, so he's also just scaling.
The early Merc Treads coming through from Faker here, delaying his build quite significantly, whereas Rod of Ages is done super early for BDD. And yeah, it's not going to be too significant in terms of like big power spikes for the Veigar, but it is going to help him get additional stats, as well as levels for his abilities. So, okay, ult trade.
But the Storm comes out, they're going in onto Lehens as the Eclipse value is there. Ignite used. Lehens is just losing health slowly.
Lehens solar flared earlier, didn't get the ult out of Guma. This time he will with the Zenith Blade. It's not going to be the trade they wanted. It's actually Guma and Keria will take control of the lane. And Faker is just very rarely actually in mid. You can see he's just constantly ready to come over and follow up on one of these plays. And yeah, it's cost him a plate, 2 plates eventually, but he's casting, and he will be relevant later. As BDD is really the big shining light right now for KT Rolster in terms of advantages.
Yeah, as you know, you go in, he's got a flash out. Like I said before, you know, it's relatively high cooldown at this point in the game, so if you're just rift walking into a Veigar, you will be put in a cage, and you won't be able to get out for a little bit.
They really wanted to bait Oner here. They had Cyclone, they have Lehens here, and the Solar Flare is committed. Faker has to flash, and so that's a huge win.
Oh,
no flash now.
He's going to catch him. Exhaust has to be used, and now he's turning it around onto BDD, who is quite low, and Oner's right here for the punish. 4-0 now. He's got Gore Drinker, as Cuz is just barely trying to survive here with the Cyclone.
Oh man, this is a disaster for KT. Well, Hens has no ult, so can't actually follow up here onto Guma, who also doesn't have his ultimate back available, but he's got Hex Flash.
All right, getting on in there. He's going to tap Keria on the back.
And this is going to be additional plates going down in the mid lane. And T1's gold lead is starting to balloon a little bit here. Getting closer to 3,000 here, about 2,700 at the moment. And you're really desperate for something here bottom side, but you don't have ult. As Zeus just controls this top side. He's almost got the whole turret. And this is a very different look for Keen here, unfortunately. All it takes is one kill and your lane falling apart in this matchup to really just be useless on Jax.
We've seen this before, like way back when we first started seeing this matchup, which is the Jax really struggles early, but not only that, if you get this far behind, it's going to be even worse as he brings him right over to Oner, but nope, it's going to be punched in the face. No butt, actually. just going to go down.
No ifs or ands either, Valdez.
Like, Cuz is there. Nope, just gets punched in the face.
Yep.
Sometimes that's what happens.
Cuz has no Cyclone, and that was such a great play from Zeus, just communicated with the rest of his team who's up there. And Oner's like, all right, well, bring him to me. I'll take care of it. As he will get the entirety of that turret, by the way. So 2 turrets now going over to T1.
Hens, you are on vision. That is the way it works. He's going to get knocked up. There's an Ignite in as well. Misses the Zenith Blade. And now flash forward. One auto nearly catches Guma. But now even this lane that was slightly in favor of KT, not so much anymore.
Yeah. By the way, I said 2 turrets. I really meant they got plate gold in mid and then the turret on top. Obviously, the mid turret is still standing, but there's no butts here in the bottom lane either, as Guma will get away. And, I mean, this angle here, you end up getting this hit onto Faker. You have ult, but you're still early game. You don't have enough damage here. And that shield comes through. The exhaust is there. And Cuz is just over here like, I can't do anything. And then Zeus pulls Keen into Oner.
Yeah. And then this is the no butts moment. He's like, oh, Counter-Strike? Nope. It's going to get punched in the face.
Yeah. Cyclone? Nope.
And this, I don't really know what Hens was doing. Like, maybe he thought he just randomly queued in the brush or something, but they had vision of him the whole time, so pretty straightforward for the T1 bot lane.
Yeah, I think the hope is that Guma's low enough and doesn't have flash or ult, so maybe they could get him, but his flash was back up, so actually.
Yeah. Here's T1 taking a second Drake on the map. It's Mountain first, which is going to make this even more annoying. On top of the Chemtech, and it is a Cloud Soul. So I feel like it's actually not that bad, as here is BDD. He's in a lot of trouble, as now all the lanes are falling apart. The one shining light of KT. It was BDD, and now he's died 3 times, and he's going to lose his turret.
Yeah, turret's going down here. Cuz he's got Cyclone this time. I don't think he wants to use it here. He's just going to try to keep the turret alive. But, I mean, this is a massive gold lead here now. They have 30,000 to the 25,000. We're getting close to 5,000 gold now. In an instant, this has changed, right? It's a 2 Drake lead here as BDD feels safe because he has the cage, but this is a Cassante. Just goes through cage, he doesn't care. Unfortunately for BDD, the follow-up charm is there from Keria. It's just chain CC'd to death. Thought the cage alone was going to be enough to save him. It's not, and now you don't have any win. KT don't have any win conditions, Valdez. Is what
yeah.
T1 just mind controlled my brain.
Sometimes you go Bruce Almighty. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah. Never go Bruce Almighty.
Except that one time Wolf just did it like 10 seconds ago.
Don't be like me. Don't do that. So you have Herald control now. And this should actually be the second turret for T1 when they decide to drop it here. The mid turret has taken so much damage. This goes back to the same sort of Game 1 control conversation we had where you have a Kassadin, a Fed Lee Sin, and a Rakan. You get rid of that mid turret, and you have so much siege, you can control oppressive vision around these critical objectives. See where Keria is. He can be up like this because he has so much support. And he can even engage over the wall. He has flash. He has ult coming back up. He's waiting for it.
Yeah, they have 3. They're like, oh, he should be safe, right? But I think the second you see Keria, you got to just, yeah, they're just going to have to back off of it. Rift Herald coming in here, looking to get a charge into the inner at 18 minutes into the game. And this is with a Xayah and a Kassadin on their team. This isn't like the, you know, the Lucian, the pressure lanes, the prio mid. No, it's just, you're just scaling at the same time.
It's interesting, we talked about this, you know, we hadn't seen Oner's Lee Sin, which was surprising, but you consider the Elise draft, and then what they tried to play in Game 2, and now he plays it, and it's just one of the easiest calls for T1 to make is like, yeah, we'll prioritize the Lee Sin on blue side, that's okay. We can play any draft with this. And this is Oner's game, man. He's everywhere all the time, setting up picks, getting these solo laners behind. And they have a massive lead on objectives here. Keen.
Oh boy. Well, he's going to dodge that Q. We'll see if it helps him out here. Hops over to Oner, and the counter-strike is there as, nope, just going to hop over and kick, as now we do have Lens trying to turn this one around as Q once again landing into Keen. And, well, not the best execution, but they do force Keen back.
Yeah, still really well played. Zeus doesn't have enough vision or information to try to commit any harder there. And I think it's the right choice to back away, but still getting a flash away from the solo laner who's just desperately trying to get some farm and maybe some bounty gold. And what it turns into is he's pushed away, he has to flash, and it's actually a turret that goes over to T1. So they will grab this bottom outer. All outers removed from the map here for T1 now. Bit of a golf clap coming through as this is just the traditional T1 lead into 6,000 gold, sub 20 minutes type of game. And there's not much to say here for KT because there are no miracle fights or engages here anymore in this draft. The Jax is too far behind to make a big Counter-Strike play. He will just die if he engages. He doesn't have flash now either.
Yeah.
So these subsequent objectives should go over to T1, and I think it's not even unrealistic to do Baron on spawn, which is kind of where they're pushing towards right now. Zeus has TP.
I think you can at least bait a fight, perhaps. There's a really nice ward was just pushed down there, probably by Lehens, just outside the pit, just at the mouth of the pit, so that it can't be taken away by vision.
And Keen also has that flank ward to the left side of the Baron there, left of the river. Maybe he could get a flank angle off and set up for a Counter-Strike if T1 do commit. And
I really want to see the amount of armor that Cassante has right now.
I don't think you do, actually.
No, I think I do. I think I need to know.
I think I'm just projecting. I'm like, I don't think I want to know. I don't think I need
Lee Sin
to know.
has 120.
Yeah.
He has played with steel caps. So, yeah, the one Mountain Drake is also quite nice, just to add to everything. So as KT group up top side here to stop a potential Baron take, T1 are just not there. They're pushing bottom side. They get another inner turret, and they're going to be able to turn this into a soul point. And even though it's just a Kassadin here, it's one of the least diveable champions in the game. And Faker has 80% of a turret here, so he also has flash. You can't kill him, and if you try, there will be consequences. Yeah, I don't think so. Now with the Leona, they might try. No, they're not even going to. 2v1 on the bottom side. Zeus in a little bit of trouble here. Doesn't matter how much armor he's got. He will be taken out as they get an objective turret and the kill onto Zeus. Yeah, but Guma also gets this turret here. Another inner going down. So they end up winning overall massively here. And yeah, Zeus overextends. Probably didn't have to die there. Probably didn't need to force that. And by force that, I mean just continue to walk forward after the turret is dead. But, I mean, he's like way up here. Not much you could do to defend this one, unfortunately, but T1 really just trying to sell the idea of, like, you better dive that top turret as Keria is going up. The timing of this doesn't work out. Still, mid turret goes down to Guma. They get soul point. So they're winning in basically 3 parts of the map. Yeah, you lost top turret and a bounty went over, but it's not that significant. As KT, they're just grasping for at anything they can get, you know? Get that top turret, get a kill onto Zeus, but you can't start Baron yet. Small victories. Yeah, small victories, you know, one step at a time. At least it's not Infernal Soul, which would have been a little bit of a problem. 2.5 items here on Guma, who was able to eke out 2 kills in the early to mid game. Some of those in the lane as well. Yeah. It's kind of weird how that early game went, where it felt like KT like had all these options and had all these win conditions, and then like top started losing, and then bot started losing, and then mid started losing. It's like one by one the lanes are like, oh, okay. Well, what do we do now? They just had so many
of these leads built up by Oner, which is making big impacts everywhere. You know, the near victory there in mid ends up being great for Oner. He gets ahead, and then sometimes with a lot of teams, like, okay, Lee Sin got ahead. What does it mean? How do they use this? Oner has used it everywhere, and now they're starting up Baron. Faker has not even swapped to Smite. They don't even need the double Smite here. He does have TP. Okay, they're zoning.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage in onto Zeus, right? Like, what? There were 5 people there. Or 4, I guess, for the majority of it. As down goes the Baron. T1 take it in the face, and they don't even get Zeus.
Yeah, he gets out, really nice all out there, and gets away from the top side, or gets away through the top side. As KT, unfortunately, is not able to lock anybody down, not able to get Cuz into the pit. And once again, this Cassante does his job. Like the last time, you know, we saw Faker on the Cassante. He was on the backside of the pit in game 1, just trying to prevent everybody from doing anything. Basically 1v5, and this is Zeus' job now. He's just going to try to keep Cuz away from this Baron pit. That's his job here. Keria's with him. Good dash away from Keria, and he does, of course, have the ability to continue to zone. Cuz just wants to get in the pit, but he's got the charm. And then the follow-up knock-up, so there's just no way Cuz can flash or Warriors Trickster or both into there for the 50-50. And they commit everything. And yeah, you lost ult, but okay.
Ghost available. He's just going to go straight through it as he does get stunned on the opposite side of it. But yeah, you're just not getting away from this. 4 people against BDD, and they feed the kill over to Guma, who's now on a killing spree.
And they have Baron buff, so they're just going to push 2 lanes here and start to take more of these structures off the map. They can just go straight for Inhibitor first here and then go for the top side push.
Well, I feel like game 1 was more of a game than this one.
Yeah.
And game 1 was not much of a game. This is just absolute stompage right now.
Yep, this is just vintage T1. And what do you do as KT here? Maybe Flash Cyclone's better than your Flash Cyclone angle in game 1. If you guys remember when Cuz was on this Wukong and he was like, maybe I could make this happen. Maybe we could go wrap around, and they just completely ignore him. And T1 are not overextending. They're not making any mistakes this time. And remember, game 2, KT had some advantages, and then they lost all of them. There were 2 Baron steals from Faker, and then T1 essentially lost in an overextension. And it's those types of moments where you're like, is KT going to win this series? And then you realize it was really, if KT didn't get this opportunity to punish, like T1 was probably never going to lose game 2, right? And then you look at this and you see T1 are just playing it very safe, very slow around their advantages. And you wonder what sort of choice KT can make in this game to even it up. How much proactivity is there even that they could potentially do? Soul point for T1, the Drake spawns in 35, and look at the amount of vision between KT and the Drake itself. They have to push through and clear.
Blue buff to Keria.
Why not?
I guess it makes sense. I think Oner also already had one, so we're like, yeah, sure, you take it. Might as well.
And KT will not contest the Drake, it looks like. Just going to simply defend here and hope for maybe an Elder Flip fight. When BDD doesn't have his death cap yet, that's pretty essential for these late game fights.
Yeah, and this time you don't even have like the Aphelios angle potentially. They have the Veigar again, but Validity Varus into single mountain Drake, but it's also Cassante and a Fed Lee Sin. So not really going to be dealing 2 damage to the top side of the map, at least. We'll have some opportunities to the other squishies on the map, but
and I don't remember,
feels a little bit too little.
I don't remember if it was Trinity Force Cleaver for Zeus last game or if it was the Sunderer, but either way, like Gnar is a frontline champion that can be punished by Jax very well, as we're going to watch BDD get caught one more time. Flashes, but still is taken out. But this time it's a Cassante, like you're saying. How much armor does he have? You know, I'm personally trying to look away. But the Jax can't actually
hide your eyes.
If Lehens hits a Solar Flare and a Zenith Blade on the Cassante, Zeus is like, yeah, okay, cool story, though. You know, it's not the same type of game where maybe you pick Zeus on this Gnar at the beginning of a team fight. The front line is just too great this time around for the same type of pick to work with the Jax here in game 3.
Let's see if they have some pick potential. KT gonna send it. Let's see how it goes as Cassante just in the box, but doesn't really care too much. Faker threatening from the right side, has level 17. And he will just be able to hop away whenever put under any pressure.
Buzz here just trying to help defend, trying to push out the enemy's support as the siege continues here. And it's just the kind of game that feels so painful to watch if you're a KT fan. You know, you're watching this, you're like, there is no hope. draining them of their energy here.
All right, little pick now onto the K'Sante. Do they have the damage? Yes, they do. The ultimate from the Veigar. Enough to push through all of those resistances.
Zeus has TP, and there's no objective for KT to take during the interim here, so a bit of an overextension from the top laner here, and is unable to get through the cage with his dash there this time. Actually catches himself into it and is blown up. But it still, it buys you time as KT. But the longer this game goes, the more frustrated you become.
Being in a little bit of trouble. Maybe a little bit was... yeah, underestimation, as he was gone in a heartbeat. Did flash to try to get out, but that is the potential of Shurelia's Xayah Rakan.
We talked about Zeus. You know, he's not going to be up for, or the objective can't be taken before he's up. He's respawning here. They have complete map control, and aiming is not really going to be here for the contest of that Baron if it is done right away. KT have to fight through so much. And T1 doesn't even have to start Baron. They could just siege straight up. Faker's backing here with TP. He could just push top. There's the TP itself.
Yeah, another TP comes in. And T1, they don't want to waste too much time with this. They want to take down the inhibitor, get it back in, take the Baron, and go for it, as the cages are just not enough. You just see that Zeus isn't getting caught this time.
He can't get in range. BDD is trying so desperately to catch this team, but it's super mobile. The Shurelia's is used by Keria so they can all get out. This is going to be Zeus here getting caught. Fortunately, just taken out, chained there into the cage, and aiming is just desperately trying to get farm. Like, he's just trying to farm. Like, can anyone blame aiming for this? No. And he's like, okay, we killed their top layer, they're resetting. I should be able to get this farm, but the long-range engage here, Gale Force.
Here we go again, as in he goes, three-man charm. They're all stuck, as the cage does get massive value. They do take out the Rakan, but I think that's all they're going to get in this team fight from the side of KT, as finally T1 find the angle. BDD might survive, well, Oner's going to put an end to that, as, they're going to get the ace, and T1 will be taking game number 3 in this series.
T1 going to match point here in this third game, it looks like, as there is just no recourse against this big of a lead. It's 12,000 gold here at 30 minutes, and KT fell behind early, and the composition of T1 just scales so much better. Oner, active in all 3 lanes, takes 3 early kills and pushes that advantage across the rift